So yeah, so I just last few points for equities. One is there is some concept of uh, you know like not only asset allocation. Asset allocation is the foundation for your financial planning, where you decide that okay, this much I will invest in equities, this much in debt, this much in properties or real estate, this much in gold, primarily this four. But if you're very wealthy, then there will be other alternative investments like, antiques and whatever, like luxury items and all those things. But even considering those four, so one is the asset allocation, and you stick to that asset allocation. Probably you change it over the period of your life, that as you get older, you will slightly move away from risk towards safety. But within the each class, like if you look at equity, then again there is something called position sizing, that when you are investing in something, a particular, especially when you start doing it in individual companies, then you should ensure that the amount which you might end up losing, like suppose that company goes bankrupt and you lose your capital, then that should not be a significant part of your wealth. So usually people advise that 5%, or maybe some may advise even lesser, but maybe maximum 5%. So exposure should be kept to that amount, so that it doesn't totally put you in a huge turmoil when if something goes wrong. So those things are there. There are also ways to measure risk. I think that is on the next slide. But just keep awareness of these things, that you should not go overboard with anything. Like how much ever confidence people may show about it. Like your friend may tell you that you just blindly invest in this ABC script and it is going to give you excellent returns. Sometimes the person advising you is also genuinely telling you, he himself or herself feels that this is what is going to happen, but the markets don't go as per our predictions. There is a very famous quote as well, I think by Albert Einstein, who himself lost a huge amount of money during his days in the market, that the markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain, uh, what was the word I forgot, but basically liquid or something like that. Like, I mean, you will probably lose everything before the markets come back to the rational valuation of a stock. So that is why you should take everything with a pinch of salt. How much ever confidence you feel, you use your discipline, you have to master your emotions. So that is why even Warren Buffett and his partner Charlie Munger, there is a very famous interview, I think on YouTube, where Charlie Munger has spoken about some 10, 12 psychological behavioral biases which humans suffer from. So this is our mind's play. Like, I mean, having come from that primitive Stone Age background, our mind likes to indulge in that fight or flight syndrome, or greed versus panic. So these things keep happening. You will see sometimes, if you have spent enough time in the market, that people, I mean, values of companies go down like anything, and sometimes they go up beyond your imagination. So you have to stay calm, you have to have your patience, and you have to master your emotions. So you should read such books where these kind of stalwarts have given a lot of advice. They have made us aware about a lot of biases which we may suffer from, and end up taking very wrong decisions, and which will ruin our life, our dreams. Because without having the right backup of finance, we will not lead a good life. So these things, be aware of these things. Now, just the last slide. So I have already spoken about asset allocation. I have given you a brief idea, and I would suggest that stick to an asset allocation which is comfortable for you. It should not lead you to sleepless nights. Like, just because someone else is having 70% in equities, it need not be true for you. is like you have to know your capability to take risks or your life situations and go accordingly. And it's okay. You might not earn as much as that person is earning, but then you will have to decide that, okay, I have to live within my means at this level. Let me cut down my, lifestyle cost, or let me find other ways to make money. But don't get into that kind of crowd mental, herd mentality where you take wrong decisions which go against your mentality. Uh, Now diversification, I spoke about, diversifying. Again, mindless diversification should not be done. Like there are people who end up having 20, 25 mutual funds in their portfolio, which is again like you have taken a mutual fund because you want to cut down on that decision making of where to invest. And then there is no point that you probably have five large cap funds. So in India, like 50 or like Sensex has 30 companies, and Nifty, which is the other exchange, has 50 companies in the top. Now, most of these large cap funds will have the same companies in their portfolio. So there is no sense in having so many funds in your portfolio where you are repeating the same thing and unnecessarily increasing your paperwork and effort. So you should diversify into instruments which are very different from each other. It could be like maybe one is a large cap, then one could be mid cap, one could be small cap, one could be some gold fund, one could be some very different flavor or category. So that kind of thing should be attempted, and only then you will gain the benefit of diversification. Now, I spoke a lot about equities, but even in debt, there are varieties. One is in terms of the duration. So there are liquid funds which like invest into overnight instruments where probably the returns will be very low, but it will be very liquid. Then there would be some maybe few months duration. Then there will be 1, 2, 3 year duration. Then there will be like 5, 10, 15 year duration, which are like say government securities and all. So they will have their own like there is a whole idea. Thought process involved that when are you going to require your money. So if you can wait for more time, then you will put some in your government securities debt fund. Some, if you feel that in the next 5 or 6 months I will need this money, then I will put it in short term fixed deposits, or I will put it in liquid funds where the return will not fluctuate so much in 5, 6 months. The government fund securities or even bond funds, like bond funds is also a category where long term like 20, 25, 30 years instruments are sold. There is a lot of fluctuation depending on the RBI's interest rate decisions. Like every time they decide that okay, we are cutting the CRR or whatever, then the bond funds will fluctuate. So you will have to understand and accordingly even diversify over there. If you don't have that understanding, then maybe you can take a financial advisor to advise you that how I should do this. A lot of people do a lot of DIY thing in finance, and then they go to the financial advisor, and then first he will have to undo everything. Like he will tell you to get out of this many funds, surrender this, do that. So in such a situation, if you feel I can't handle all this, and then it is better to take a help of an expert. Tax planning, I think we have already kind of done a few things here and there, but I just would want to emphasize that you have to keep in mind what is the post-tax returns. So sometimes, like say for example, a fixed deposit. Now there, if you are already in the higher slabs, you will be paying tax on that deposit. So suppose it's giving you 7%, but after deducting, you will end up getting 5% only after paying your tax. Against that, if you are in a debt fund, then there will be like for the depending on how much you are staying invested, it can become a capital gain, like a capital gain. So you will save some tax by the kind of way it is treated, and so on and so forth in many other ways. So keep understanding at the back of your mind that what is the tax effect of my decisions, and accordingly there is even some people do something called tax loss harvesting, where even though you want to continue in the investment, you will book a loss because you have made some profit in some other investment, and you will use this loss to set off against that profit so that your tax liability reduces for that year. And then you will again buy the same thing, whatever you have sold, you will buy it back. So your plan was to continue, but you just booked the loss, because till you don't book profit or loss, the tax liability does not arise. So this is something like a strategy which people use. So whatever is allowed in terms of the provisions in tax laws, you should try and take advantage. Some people become very passive about all this. They just let the company deduct and pay TDS on their behalf, even if there is a possibility then they can take some benefits and save on that. They don't do it. They just let it go routinely, like, okay, this much is deducted, this is what I got, and that's it. But try and take interest that how I can reduce my tax liability and save that, because whatever that is again a saving, like whatever you are saving from paying as a tax is a direct saving for you. So look at those things. And this again a very important thing, but actually no one has voted about this. Probably everyone is aware, but I just mentioned it here, the will aspect, especially in case of divorcees and or maybe separated and all those things. There are laws governing succession. Then there are again Hindu Succession Act, and other religions also might have their own acts. So as per these things, sometimes very unintended people may become your successors of the whatever property or investment, whatever you are leaving behind. So it is better that you have that understanding and not let the money go to someone whom you would not want to go. Like sometimes husband may be heir to the wife's property if she passes away, and vice versa. And suppose you don't want that, and you want that 100% should go to your child or whatever, like so those things will gives you the freedom to clarify that this is how my wealth should pass on. And you can do it in a simple document. Just have witnesses, two witnesses, and then get it registered, because then otherwise someone may contest it, if at all. I mean, this situation depends on your situation as well. Like, I mean, some people may have such a harmonious relations with whoever is their families, that they don't have to bother so much. They can trust that whoever is there, they will take care that my kids or whoever, I mean, others are going to take, I mean, benefit out of it. But some may have issues. There could be bitterness or whatever. They don't have trust. So in that case, you should consider having a will, and you should make provision so that it goes on to the right person. Um, there was one point I think I missed, which was about the risk aspect. So this I just in very brief I will say that suppose you are having two instruments which are giving the same return, but suppose one instrument is having more variation in their return, like it is what is called volatility. So if that volatility is high, then that means it is more risky for you, because when you want the money, maybe it would have gone down. And there is also something called risk adjusted return. So for the same amount of risk, are you getting a better return elsewhere? So these parameters are also given sometimes for the mutual fund plans. So if you read their sheets, you will come to know, or maybe even on websites they will have comparisons. So you will come to know that suppose I'm investing in a large cap fund itself, but maybe a company A is giving me one plan which is less risky than company B, then how do I understand? So these things will help you make a decision that which is a better or safer bet for me. Same thing in terms of like there is standard deviation from the returns and all those things. These things I would not want you to focus too much right now, but like just if when you have the time or the interest, you can try and understand the aspect of risk, because a lot of times people leverage themselves to, I mean, out of greed, and then they get stuck in a hole where they will actually lose their entire wealth because they have taken a risk that they are not capable of handling. And it's like, their whole, like whatever dreams they had are shattered. So we do see such examples around us. So please be careful that, you handle your money very, very carefully and take help if you feel that I am not capable of handling. Okay, so now just to summarize, the key takeaways are save regularly by tracking budgeting, plan your taxes, leverage the benefits, create files for kids, invest wisely, diversify, protect your assets by insurance, will, nominations. Nominations is something like, you should keep updating. Like if something happens, like, someone passes away whom you had put as a nominee, or maybe it was your ex-spouse, then you should ensure that you remove them and bring in the new nominees. Then resources. So just I jotted a few which came to my mind. Like there are books which are available in Indian context. Monica Hallan is a good financial educator. She has a podcast as well. And Devina Mehra has also recently come out with a book that is there. Deepak Shenoy, who runs Capital Mind. Again, some very good ideas and thoughts by him. So there is a book. You can even buy books for children. And I also came across this last line. If you see National Finance Olympiad, this seems to be an interesting site. They have a book as well, and they also have activities to involve teenagers and all to participate in contests to improve their financial knowledge. You can look at that. Then there is that Rich Dad Poor Dad book as well, which could be an interesting book. So these are things. Then the free Finkel website, which Ami talked about, I had thought of that website, and that Asan Ideas for Wealth is also a good group for in understanding. Like a lot of people put in their queries, and there are good answers by others. So it's a good forum to gain your financial knowledge. Also, behavioral finance. So there is one book which most of you might have known, Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. But as a field, behavioral finance makes you aware of, again, how our mind works, what are our biases, and how we should try and overcome them so that we take very rational and prudent decisions, and don't go by our emotions and end up in a soup. With that, I would thank you for your patience and listening to me.
Can I add? I just wanted to add a few points.
Yeah, please.
Um, so first, Dhaval, wonderful, wonderful presentation, like much, much, much needed as well. Um, few things, and I hope this is just a very basic thing, but this is what I've seen with all my friends, um, single or married or whatever. They are not in charge of their finances. Okay, it is their husband who knows everything. I mean, the person can be a fund manager herself. Okay, managing funds for others, but she is not in charge of her finances. It is
So,
taken
so
care
can
of
I
by.
can I ask a question? Why does that happen? Is that because
So
the
that is a
husband is very
cultural issue. That's a topic for some. That's a different, what do you say, discussion that we can have. But it's largely, just to plainly put, it's how culturally things are, right?
culturally,
So
or is it a control issue?
so stems from there. But obviously, the connotations are very different, and it does come to control, or just the way. I mean, just the way it is passed on from
Deliberate
generation.
obfuscation on part of one spouse.
Yeah, yeah. So one thing here is, um, and sometimes it's not that intentions are bad, but I have seen many of my friends who still tell me कि वो तो पापा को मालूम है, मुझे मालूम नहीं है. And that is where the problem starts. Like, for example, some 15 years ago, my dad suddenly had a heart attack, and we were taking him to the hospital. Once we reached the hospital, we realized that none of us knew about Mediclaim policy, because only dad took care of it, right? I had no idea at all, except for my company Mediclaim. बिल्कुल भी नहीं पता था. Starts from there. Also, for a lot of us, a lot of our investments are, for example, a lot of my investments used to be in my father's name. Okay, and we never realized it until some time ago, that, this is not, this may create problems within siblings. otherwise. So take charge. Eventually, get it all in your, जो आपका है, get it in your name. Lock. I have seen most people, including myself, we usually don't operate our own lockers. Jewelry, mother or mother-in-law will go and get it. उनको पता है क्या लाना है. But the problem arises when that mother-in-law, God give them long lives. But if they pass away and that locker is a joint locker, you're inviting a lot of trouble in terms of who claims stake on it.
Correct.
So it's better to have your own locker. Okay. Um, Another thing that I do, and it helps me, and I'm just sharing this. So I keep my salary account is my basic account where it is the inflow through salary and outgo through credit card bills, because I mostly swipe my card everywhere. Okay. And another account, like a huge chunk of my salary will be transferred to another account, which is my investment account. So that I roughly at a glance know where am I standing. Some months if there's a medical emergency, your expenses may exceed your income. Saving नहीं हो रही है, but then your SIP भी जा रहा है तुम्हारा. So all those adjustments, right? And another thing, I think we should really have one more session on this. Another thing I'll tell you is, please, whoever, if at all anybody feels it is a lot of jargon, please do not get overwhelmed and shut yourself down. I have a close friend who didn't even study commerce or anything. She's an artist, but recently she took a class of Avdut Sate. I mean, he's not the best guy, but she took the class to understand the basics. And I think just because she had that interest, I think she's able to crack things very well. And mind you, she started at 45 in this. Okay. So whatever you do, it's never too late. Another thing is, right now there are a lot of these preachers who mushroomed everywhere. Ye class kar lo, wo class kar lo. And largely they sell FNO classes, trading. Please, if anything looks and sounds like too good to be true, it is definitely too good to be true and wrong. And even though we know all this, we still fall prey to that. Like, classic example is me. I made a profit of simple 10K one day in FNO. So I thought, oh, मुझे सब आ गया, मैं और 3 दिन किया, 30,000 lost. You get the drill, right? So whoever is not well versed, please do not trade in stocks directly. Mutual funds are there for a reason. And as Dhaval rightly said, look at post tax returns. People miss this. Simply, अगर आपकी FD में 7% return है, okay, and your mutual funds, hypothetically, if they give you 9% annualized return, or even the same return, let's assume for argument's sake, your FDs and mutual funds are yielding same annual return. Your FDs are, if you fall in the 30% tax bracket, you are going to be taxed 30% there. And your mutual fund gains will fall into the 15% capital gains. So that makes a whole lot of difference eventually. This is not to say please don't put any money in FDs. We all need to diversify, but we all keep committing these mistakes. And yeah, we all learn after committing mistakes. So yeah, and
Yes.
Dhaval put out a very good list of people to follow. Monica has been a colleague, and I would highly recommend
Wow.
her. Yeah, she used to head personal finance coverage at Mint, and she knows it well. Another guy I would really push you guys to follow is Neil Borate. He now heads personal finance at Mint. Neil is also a good friend, and follow him on social media because he breaks down things visually for a layman to understand it better. Yeah, that's it from me for now.
No, very important points made by you. I totally agree as well on those aspects. So yeah, it's makes sense.
Abhi,
Like
could you
that.
share his Insta link, Neil Borates?
मैं भेज रही हूँ अभी ग्रुप में.
Yeah, I follow that Neil Borate. I think he's on Twitter also, right?
He's on Twitter. He's become a
Uh,
brand by himself.
yeah, I
And
follow.
he's just changed how personal finance is covered in the country. Even finance minister, SEBI chairperson have like applauded him publicly. So he's made a difference. Yeah.
And you made that very good point about the FNO part, that people, a lot of greed comes in the mind, that when you see these people sharing the kind of profits they are making, and a lot of it is hoax only. Not only that, it needs a lot of learning. Like you have to really, really, not only one is the technical aspects, like how to read the charts and all those things, but secondly is controlling your emotions, and then how to take, like putting
Correct.
stop losses, risk reward ratios, and God, many things are there.
Correct.
And
Correct.
I
And
had experimented it long back, and I forget other things. I realized that I don't have the kind of mindset only to sit in front of a screen and just focus on these things. So that's where I gave up. I felt that no, I may
correct.
understand also, but I don't want to do something like this. So you have to know your mind,
Similar
and
things. I don't think I
temper
have the
yourself.
emotional discipline to trade. I
Yes,
don't.
that is very critical actually.
Yeah.
And especially when you take a big bet, no, then you start panicking, and then anxiety, and then you end up, taking all wrong steps. So that is why
Yeah.
it's better to be self-aware and stay
And
with.
सेबी का एक study
Well,
है.
I also wanted to ask if Aditi, Naina, and anyone else, Rahul, if they have some queries. Ami, sorry I interrupted. You may continue. I just
No,
wanted
that's
to know
okay.
if
That's
people
okay.
have queries. Yeah.
Sure,
Please
sure.
continue.
Trading में SEBI has a study. 90% of the people who trade have lost money. So when I say trading, I mean futures and options. Do not confuse trading with investing. Investing is a must. मतलब we can't survive without it. Because simply because आज के जो 10 लाख है, okay, 5 years later, that 10 lakh का value 5 lakhs हो गया रहेगा in today's terms. So we cannot afford to not invest. And to, I mean, there is no, while there are set rules, there is no standard one size fits all. What works for me in some ways, like it depends on your priorities, right? Again, so for example, this is one thing. Meri shadi mein, I didn't make all the jewelry from the gold that was given. Okay, so I'm someone who's decided that I'm never going to make a lot of jewelry out of what I was supposed to make. I'm going to let it be as gold. I'll make some small things which I can wear. But I know my priorities, right? I'm not craving for jewelry at this point. I would rather crave for some, retirement security, better retirement security. So to each its own. It's nothing wrong to aspire that, oh no, I want this. I want let's say a BMW. Nothing wrong in that. Just that align your income with the goals. And one more point, ये gradually हम सबको करना चाहिए. There is a thing called passive income and active income. Active income is all what we are earning. Passive income is what keeps coming in on its own. It could be anything. It could be your investments. It could be your rental income. It could be your side business. Yeah, please, Pratiksha.
I have two questions. One is about Dhaval saying that we need to track our expenses. So earlier I used to use an app called Expense Manager. Okay. This is 7-8 years ago. But तभी क्या था ना, वो Google account continue नहीं करता था. Like suppose if I uninstall the app for some reason, नया mobile ले लिया, whatever. So I had to start from zero again. There was no tracking of the, suppose I leave it somewhere and from there I'm restarting. So is there any such app
Axio.
where
Axio.
continued
AXIO.
AXIO?
Pratiksha, I think now the expense manager I was using for past 5 years, expense manager, अब जो upgrade हुआ है, it is now you can use your Google account to save the data because I did that.
तो
I was
मैंने भी
using it
Google
for
account नहीं
almost
किया था.
5 years, 4 years.
हाँ मेरा 5 years से मैंने नहीं किया. 2017 में मैं करती थी, बट वो गूगल अकाउंट से ही करती थी, वो कंटिन्यू नहीं
मैंने
होता.
मैंने आई थिंक 2018 या 19 में स्टार्ट किया था यूज करना.
अच्छा.
And it uses currency all over the world, no? So it's an international this thing. It takes any currency.
Okay.
So I
Great.
have used it for a long time to manage expenses.
Super. And my second question is, one is we have a, a stable salary. We know, okay, we get 100 rupees every month. But what about how to understand your amounts when you're in a business where in 1 month you're earning 100, another 20, another 400. So how do we realize what is the minimum amount we can invest every month?
I personally think, okay, we all need a fee only advisor. Okay. Now, when I say a fee only advisor, have I found the right one? No. मेरा भी trial and error चल रहा है. Okay. But fee only advisor क्यों? What that person does is, यही सब analyze करके, he or she will tell you यहाँ invest, ये mutual funds में invest करना है, SIP set करना है, ये FDs में जाएगा. Why fee only? Because that person is not earning any commission on the recommendations. So there is no bias. प्लस तुम जैसे धवल ने बताया था डायरेक्ट और रेगुलर प्लान्स, यू पुटिंग एवरीथिंग डायरेक्ट, सो यू आर सेविंग ऑन कमीशन. व्हेन यू सेव ऑन कमीशन, योर रिटर्न्स आर बेटर.
ये मुझे नहीं समझा था डायरेक्ट इनडायरेक्ट.
So direct is one way to do it is, let's say ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund. I open the website, I invest, I look up the plans, I set up my SIP. मेरे अकाउंट से पैसे अभी इन्वेस्ट हो गए, अगले महीने भी इन्वेस्ट हो गए. Here, I'm not paying any middleman any commission. Let's say I'm an agent and I'm saying, Pratiksha, इसमें डालना, this is a good one. I think this suits your goals. You will put it through me. I will get that commission every year. It may be small amounts, but that is your loss. For example, अब जैसे म्यूचुअल हम शेयर्स लेते हैं, म्यूचुअल फंड में हम यूनिट्स बोलते हैं, राइट? सो अगर तुमको 100 रुपये में, पहले अगर तुमको डायरेक्ट प्लान में 50 यूनिट्स आ रहे थे, कमीशन प्लान्स को हम रेगुलर प्लान्स बोलते हैं, यू विल प्रोबेबली गेट लेसर यूनिट्स, 45 यूनिट्स. तो तुम्हारा घाटा हो गया ना वो.
बराबर बराबर बराबर. Okay.
And it is a
No,
very
but Ami, sorry,
हाँ.
I will say that कुछ चीजों के लिए ना you need that investment advisor, because I have one, and मेरे dad के time से, मतलब dad was consulting him, so he's actually a family friend, so he generally gives a good advice. And mainly जैसे I was taking my health insurance, so his office compared all the plans, and not just comparison कि कौन सा वाला will give you a claim faster. That is also
If you
important.
have
Compare
someone
करके
that
अगर
good,
कम amount का लूंगी मैं, क्योंकि price line, those that what you call, there's this website, no, where you go and compare all the rates. तो वहाँ पे you will find others also giving in a lesser price. But then the comparison is who will give you a proper service. गाड़ी का insurance हो गया या health insurance
correct,
हो
correct.
गया.
No,
So
no, so
that
if
time
you
I
are
think
comfortable
those
with someone,
advisors
please
help.
carry on. No. So if you're comfortable with someone, as I said, there is no one size fits all. If that works for you, please don't change it.
No, but you need
जैसे चल
someone
रहा
who is reliable. Like what I have, he is like a family. He's like a family friend. मेरे dad को office में assist करते थे. He had a family relationship with my dad. So from there I'm continuing. He started his own firm. So
Okay, great.
वहाँ से है. So it's like a long relationship we hold.
So
So
don't
and
disturb
pretty
anything
much
of that
sure
sort.
So
हाँ,
regarding
so
this,
pretty
I'm
much sure he will not give a bad advice or a wrong advice just to earn money out of me.
नहीं, good है. अगर वैसा एक relationship है, तो lovely. I mean, then don't.
Nana is saying something.
Regarding this,
Nana,
I have experience.
can you put your video on?
नैना कुछ बोल रही है.
Hello, you can hear me?
तो कुछ बोल रही है.
So like, whatever Aditi says, like
तेरी
it's right.
आवाज नहीं आ रही है नैना.
Hello.
Can't
तेरी
hear you.
आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
Don't know. Wait.
धीमा धीमा आवाज आ रहा है तेरा.
हाँ. Also, the meeting will
कहीं
end
से
in
दूर
another
है.
3 minutes.
हम फिर लॉग इन करेंगे.
हाँ. हेलो, अभी आवाज आ रहा है? अभी आ रहा है आवाज?
Yes.
हाँ, सो अदिति ने जो कहा वो बराबर है। अभी मैंने लाइक है ना, इवन आई हैव एक्सपीरियंस कि हम लोग कंपेयर करते हैं पॉलिसी एंड फिर हम लोग जो अमाउंट वाइज हम लोग पॉलिसी बाय कर लेते हैं, मेडिकल पॉलिसी। बट इट इज राइट कि कौन लाइक है ना फास्ट लाइक है ना पॉलिसी क्लेम के रिलेटेड हेल्प करता है। तो ये जो भी एडवाइजर रहते हैं वही ये प्रॉपर हमें गाइड कर सकते हैं। इट्स बेटर यू ऑप्ट फॉर एडवाइजर।
नहीं, क्लेम से ज्यादा देर आर इन बिटवीन द लाइंस ऑल्सो, उनके टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस इतने होते हैं ना, इट इज नॉट इजी टू अंडरस्टैंड इन बिटवीन लाइंस के जो वो छोटे छोटे चीटी से भी छोटे अक्षरों में लिखे हुए जो टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस होते हैं।
Yes, it's true because like in the last 2 years I'm facing all these things. So मुझे पता चला है कि ये एडवाइजर होना बहुत अच्छी, एडवाइजर साथ में होता है तो अच्छी बात रहती है।
बट मुझे एक एक क्वेश्चन था धवल, शुड वी टेक बच्चों का भी हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस? क्योंकि मेरे भाई ने उसकी दोनों बेटियों का ले रखा है, मेरे काका ने दोनों भाई की बच्चियों के लिए ले रखा है।
The health insurance still makes sense. My like earlier discussion was more on about the life insurance part.
लाइफ इंश्योरेंस आई अग्री, लाइफ इंश्योरेंस आई अग्री, बच्चों का जरूरत नहीं है।
Health
इट इज
insurance,
अबाउट द अर्निंग मेंबर।
yeah, health insurance you should consider because उसमें क्या है, the anyways the premium at younger age will be lesser. Age wise the premium keeps rising. Like अभी now as we reach 40, I mean whatever 50 के आसपास में तो every few years there will be a big jump in my premium.
इंक्रीज जंप है, राइट।
हाँ, तो वो it makes sense because medical expenses we should cover. And एक दो claim किया ना तो like your premiums will all be taken care of because आजकल
उसमें भी लाइक द इंश्योरेंस का हमारा अमाउंट बढ़ता है ना एवरी ईयर बिकॉज ऑफ द एज। सो आई वाज एडवाइज्ड बाय माय एडवाइजर्स दैट इफ यू आर गेटिंग एन ऑप्शन टू पे फॉर 3 years, जस्ट लॉक द अमाउंट एंड पे इट आउट। दैट्स
nowadays,
व्हाट आई हैव डन,
yeah, they have
ताकि
that.
एटलीस्ट आई हैव अ फिक्स अमाउंट फॉर नेक्स्ट 3 years, उसके बाद इट विल अगेन रिकैलकुलेट द इंश्योरेंस।
Yeah, that is,
दैट्स आल्सो अ गुड ऑप्शन टू डू।
yeah, you can take that call as well. जो पहले का discussion हुआ, like it's a balance. What Ami was saying and what you are saying both hold true. Especially in medical insurance, even I have an agent because there are so many things you have to cover and understand and make sense of that even I call him and then I will ask him doubts and then he will explain that okay, this is what this is. So there no doubt we need a good reliable agent, whereas in certain cases the effort is not needed to understand it so much, especially